Hey guys, Derek from Blue Collar Chess. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about Perlos Endgame Tactics. It's a fantastic book. At the end of the video, I'm going to do a couple of the positions off of the Chessable course. It's pretty much a recreation of the book. So this guy Perlo just made a bunch of clippings for himself, I believe, and he put together this book. So what I like about this book is that it's got chapters, right? So chapter two says pure rook endgames. Okay, so A is disappointment, despair, and discontent, or the simple endgame of rook plus pawns versus bare rook. So basically, it's showing you, like this one's the very first position looks like the Lucina position, kind of, but it's not that type of book. It's probably, I think it just mentions it here, and really it's just showing you different positions, and then the next chapter is the next part of this chapter is B is stalemate tricks. So you go from rook versus pawn or two pawns to stalemate tricks. And then you go from that to rook endgames with equal number of pawns. Rook plus pawn versus rook plus pawn. So, and I could give you a bunch of examples of that, but the reason why I think that's important is because it structures the puzzle so that way if you're playing a game and you find yourself in a position where you miss a tactic or you just didn't really know how to play that particular rook endgame, you could grab like Dvoretsky's endgame manual and and use that like an encyclopedia, but you can also grab something like this for training, because that's what this is better for. I think like you just sit down with some positions and you can do 10, you can do 5 in 15 minutes. They're not, they're complicated and they're interesting, but it's almost more for pattern recognition and knowing that these type of ideas and moves exist and they're out there. So once you see them, you should be able to put them into your own game. You may have to look at it, more than once. It depends on what type of person you are, how good your memory is, your recall, and that type of stuff for sure. But yeah, so I think this book is one of the secret endgame books that people don't really talk about. Again, I'm going to share the book that I have. It has a different cover now. I believe they've updated it, maybe added some games to it or something. But yeah, no, it's a great book. So without further ado, let's go to the Chessable course and let's look at a couple of the positions here. And yeah, here we go. So I'm not going to read this to you. Honestly, I hate the sound of my own voice. So I'm just going to show it, pause this. And so what we're doing is we're doing the exchange, rook versus minor piece. Okay, so that's everything we need to know. So now we're going to go to the next part, hopefully. And I don't know why my computer's so slow today, guys. Here we go, next variation. And again, it's just, so the first two parts of this was basically just explaining what's going on. Again, just pause the video so that, and the reason why I'm showing this to you is, one, you can get used to like the guy's writing style and how he's structuring this particular book. So now we're gonna go to the actual puzzle, I believe. Okay. And okay, the first of this small series is Larsen Miles. You should study this position well, as White has a sinister little joke at his disposal that is worth keeping in mind. So this is a pretty easy position, I think. Is it so let's see, what happens if you play a7? A7. Well, no, so Yeah, so after a7, it looks like you might have, so the bishop takes, right? So bishop takes, and you have rook b3 check maybe, and then the king's got to go. No, I might no, that might not work. So wait, so a7, bishop takes a7, and then honestly, I think at that point you can just play king to c. Yeah, so the bishop has to take, right, and then the king will just go to c8, I think, and then so then black has to leave the bishop behind. So I believe it's a7. So a7 goes here, and I think this move, yeah. So again, a7, and there was nothing left for Miles but to resign, as bishop takes a7 is obviously met by king c8, and the bishop is lost. All right, let's go to the next one. And there was another complete surprise for the white player in Baratz versus Tartakower Paris 1933. So this one is probably going to do with a back rank mate, right? So you need that square for your king. So probably g2. So say the bishop takes, then you play king to g3, and then the rook, the bishop is hanging, and it's got to move somewhere. It would have to move somewhere where it can stay on the f1 square. So that would be f1 to h3, and obviously the king would just take it. So he just has to move back somewhere at that point, and then you're gonna play rook to a1, and that's gonna be checkmate. So the other move would be king to h1 maybe, yeah, king to h1, because that way if you took the bishop, you're looking at stalemate. But you wouldn't take the bishop. You would play rook to a1, and that would be checkmate. All right, so it's this move right here. Yeah, so what happens there? I would say that was a very good question. Yeah, I think you can just kind of play a tempo move here, actually. I'm not sure. Yeah. So I'm not sure. I haven't looked at these positions before. So that's an alternative. Okay. So you move the other way. I don't know. I suppose you can just move the rook too, I would think. I'll just stay on the same. Nope, that one's incorrect. So you move the rook there. Okay. And let's see. So that's what he does. So he goes there, check. So probably here. Nope, that's an alternative. So here. Then there. All right, so I think you can just move your rook back here. Yeah, this is a very tough position for me. I've never seen these moves before, so. Bishop to. Oh, incorrect. Wow. How's that even work? Okay, so king takes. See, I didn't think that was working. So king takes, and then okay, how white resigned. So I want to take a look at this because I'm not quite seeing it. So here, so if he did something like this, you would just do, you would do like a tempo move right here. You do that, he'd have to go. Well, no, you wouldn't do that. You'd go to a dark square. You would do this, and then if he did this, you would do this, and then this, and then this. And now he's got to do that, and then you can take with checkmate. But let's take a look at rook b. Yeah, so what if, yeah, not that move, rook a2 rather. And then if he moves off, again, you just check him, brings his bishop back, and you just move your rook square. It doesn't matter which one. All right, so let's go back to the other one, and let's take a look to see. Yeah, he doesn't really say. So yeah, so sometimes you're gonna have to work them out on your own, but that's good for you. You know, it's not. You know, I don't think that's a detriment to the book. They are kind of assuming that you are a pretty strong player, but I don't think you necessarily need to be. Again, we have engines, we've got programs where we can move the pieces, all that type of stuff. So yeah. So anyways, yeah, so Van Perlo's Endgame Tactics. I highly recommend Van Perlo's Endgame Tactics for somebody who wants to get better, at tactics, wants to get better at endgames, is looking for a book that you can just pick up and put down, and pick up and put down whenever you want to. This is a great book for that. So yeah, so this is Derek Blue Collar Chess. I hope you like this book review. I know it's not your stereotypical book review, and sorry about not being able to. I didn't know that puzzle all that well. Again, it's the first time I was seeing it. I've never seen some of these positions. I like learning all the time. I don't like regurgitating other people's material to you guys. It's just not something that I care to do all that much. For me, it's more about advice and just getting better at chess and enjoying chess and and passing on what little wisdom that I might have about anything. And yeah, so anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this book review. Derek Blue Collar Chess. We'll be talking to you guys later.